Hey everyone, can everyone hear me? Correct? Just checking the chat if anyone can hear me. If anyone can reply. Okay, I see some people saying yes. Maybe one more. Okay, perfect. All right, thanks everyone for joining the stream. I've been meaning to do this for quite a bit of time already, but what was always holding me back for doing this is like I'm doing this weekly, and I think it's bit of a dull affair. It's quite a bit of a robot kind of job doing these releases. But people have been keeping on asking for doing me a stream about this. So here we go. What I want to do first is share my screen real quick so you can follow along. Let's see. There we go. And normally you should see the release notes now in the documentation. If everyone can reply, anyone can reply real quick. That's showing okay. It's been a while that I've done a live stream, so I'm like just checking if everything's going right. That everyone can follow along real easily and see what I'm seeing on my screen. All right. Seems like people are confirming that everything's working fine. That's great. All right, let's get this show on the road. So thank you very much for joining. What I will be doing mostly today is like just showing you what I basically do every single week. So one of the parts of my job exists in making sure that everything that gets into our libraries for bug fixes, new features, anything really that community members have been cooking up or we internally have been cooking up, that gets released out there to you. So you have new fresh stuff every week coming up. And like just doing those releases each week. We do those releases on Tuesday every week, just to have like this fixed day where you can expect like, okay, when I submit a bug fix or am I waiting on something, I know that's going to be released on Tuesdays mostly. Sometimes we skip over weeks, could be due to holiday, maybe someone's sick, maybe like something comes up, like it could happen that's like 1 week or maybe 2 weeks, maybe a Laracon is happening, whatever, that we skip a couple of times. But mostly it should always be a Tuesday. Sometimes we also release during other days. Depends on if we have some important bug fixes that should be released, like some hot fixes, or we just like want to share a really cool new feature with you very early on. Then we could like decide to release midweek or something, or even during the weekends. It's not like a really fixed thing, but mostly it's Tuesdays. So what happens on Tuesdays is that first, before we do the first party releases, which I'm responsible for, we do the frameworks release. And Taylor is always the one who's responsible for doing the core framework releases. So what he does is he reviews all of the pull requests that were sent in from the day then, and he makes sure that everything that's important for the next release that gets merged in, and that most important things are definitely in the release for that week. And when the last pull request has been reviewed and merged in, and when all of our tests are passing, then Taylor adds a version commit, incrementing the number for Laravel framework, and he does the new release. We do the releases for the framework a little bit different than for the libraries. We have a specific release script here. And that's all. You can all review that within the framework source code. It's also open source there. And what this basically does, I'm not going to go over this in detail. You can read up on it in GitHub itself. But what this basically does is make sure that all of the code is compiled and pushed out there through a splitter. And what the splitter does is it makes sure that all of the different components from the framework, so you like Laravel exists out of a lot of different components, as you can see here, and each of those components is a separate package on its own. So if you go to github.com Illuminati and you go, for example, to the sport component, then you'll notice that this, even though this is on master, I'll change it to 8.x quickly. So even though it's hard to read text, you can load the resolution. That's actually a very good idea. I actually always forget to do that. Thanks for mentioning that, Mohammed. Let me fix that real quick for you all. Because I'm on this huge 27-inch screen, and of course, like that's a little bit hard to follow when you're checking from a browser or a different screen. So it should be scaled, and I think it was Freek that taught me this. So I think this will be a whole lot better already. So is this better to read? I think this will be way better for you all to follow along with. Just waiting a little bit for replies to come in. Sorry about that. All right, much better. That's cool. All right, sorry about that. Anyways, to pick up again, so what Splitter does is it splits out all of the components into different packages for the core framework. So it makes sure that like these branches are kept up to date with the core framework. And what happens when Taylor does a release, it gives it a new tag. So 8.64 was just released, and the tag gets added, and the same tag should be added here as well. There it goes. So like what basically happens is that each component gets tagged as well separately. So it makes sure that all of the different code that went into that specific component gets released on its own if you're using it on a standalone basis itself. So that's a little bit it for the framework itself. It's a little bit more complicated than the release process of our first-party libraries. And we just want to make sure that that gets released first. So that's the first thing that goes out on Tuesdays. And then it's up to me to release the first-party libraries. And to go about that, I'll just go through the process I'm doing like each and every week. I have to warn you, like I said before, on a personal note, I think it's a bit of a dull process. I have to do like the same action for each library, just in the same fashion. So you might, after a while, see the same thing happening every time again. So if you want to bail out at any point, I won't blame you. But for those who want to follow along, thank you for staying and tagging along. So what I basically do each week, I have this numbers file here. Yes, I'm one of the 7 people in the world that uses numbers. Works fine, in my opinion. So what I basically have here is a list of all the open source projects that I maintain. And I have some release to-dos alongside them. So, for example, for Cashier Stripe, I should remember to increment the version every time I do a new release. For Horizon and Telescope as well, I need to make sure that I compile the assets because we have front-end assets that get published. So if anyone does like change to them, we'll need to make sure that that gets compiled and shipped out to our end users as well. I have to apologize a little bit as well because I was a little bit sick last week and I still like have a little bit of a cold lingering. So apologize if like I'm not making sense all the time. But I'll try to do my best. Okay, so to get started, I always go from top to bottom, and I start with the topmost library, of course, that's Breeze. And what I do mostly is I can see, because I've been doing this like fairly often, I can already see some quick indications like when a new release is due or when not. So the last release was 14 days ago, and I know that because I updated the changelog back then. And because no new code has been released, has been added yet to Breeze, I know that I can safely skip this library. If I wanted to like be very sure that I shouldn't release any new code, I can go to the release notes. And what I usually do is like I keep these release notes with every single change that has been happening. Well, not every single change, but the most important ones that our users should know about. And sometimes they reference specific commits, sometimes they reference specific pull requests. You'll see me like updating these change logs in other libraries in a little bit. But one thing that our release notes also have is like an unreleased link here on top. So if you click that, you'll basically see all the changes that have been going in from the last release up until now. So it basically from v1.4.2 and then all of the commits that have gone in on the main branch that is now the base branch on Breeze. But as I thought, there haven't been any changes yet to Breeze in the meantime, so we can safely skip this library. I'm gonna close the framework here as well. So we can move on to the next library, and that's browser kit testing. Something you might also notice this, like there's something special going on here in my numbers file. I've been like adding PHP 8.1 builds to our libraries over the past week. I still have quite a bit of left to do. And this is just like an easy way for me to keep track, like, okay, these libraries are already passing on PHP 8.1, and the rest I still need to check in to. Like Echo is a JavaScript library, so that doesn't apply. And the ones that have pull requests listed here are the pull requests that are still open where tests don't pass yet. So I still need to check in on why that is, and still need to tackle that before we can ship full PHP 8.1 support for this library or other ones. But Breeze seems to be ready. Dusk seems to be ready already, which is nice, and a couple of other ones as well. Okay, so the next library that we need to release is browser kit testing. Let's see if anything happened on that. And as I can see already from very fast, is that last change happened on June 4th, sorry. So I'm fairly sure that like nothing needs to be released for this library. And there have been some commits here if we click on the unreleased, but as you can see, like it's mostly like just basic changes to the builds, to the tests themselves. So there's nothing really end user stuff in here. So we can safely skip this browser kit testing as well. There's nothing here for us to do. I really hope that we have some releases today. Otherwise, this is going to be a very boring live stream. Oh, let me check the comments real quick. Number file. Not really sure what you mean by that, Tonton. Sorry. Let's continue with the releases. So next one that's up is Cashier Paddle, which is our paddle integration for Cashier. Let's see, the last change was 14 days ago. So I should have normally gone over that last time. Oh, no, seems that we have a change here which hasn't gone in yet. It could be that it was like gone in right after the release of 14 days ago, and that I maybe missed it then. So the last one was on August 3rd. And we do have one change here. Fixed checkout URL was one by myself. Okay, I see what is happening. So this was a change that I did just to our test suite itself. So it's not, again, not really an end user kind of thing. Like I can tag this, but it wouldn't have any effect on end users because the tests, of course, aren't something you use in the public API of a library. So we can skip Cashier Paddle as well. Let's see if Cashier Stripe has changes. Yes, we do have changes here. And I remember this one. This one was sent in by a community member and by Kieran. And what we basically did here was handle a Stripe timeout issue for the webhooks. I'm not going to go into like different pull requests or changes too deeply because like I want to keep the focus on this live stream a bit at what the topic is at hand. So I'm gonna like try to focus on how I usually work. What I basically do is when I see that a library has changes that I need to release, I click on the unreleased part. And then I try to like pinpoint all of the commits and pull requests that went into the library. So what is happening here, it's just one change that needs to be released. What I usually do is then I click open this here. I already had it open, but let's, for the sake of it, to work in the way I usually work. And I click on open the pull request here. I can close this one. And now I get into my editor and start on the release itself. So what I do is I open the library itself in VS Code. And to just get ahead a little bit on people, I'm using VS Code. I'm using Solarized Lite as a theme. My font is, actually don't know what my font is. What is my font? Settings, user settings, user settings, font. Apparently it's Menlo. It's pretty cool. So that's for those kind of questions. So you now know already. What I usually do now is like go to the base branch, make sure that I pull in any change that has happened. I quickly see if I need to like, I think I can, no, I'm still working on that branch. So I quickly like see if I have any branches left lingering. And then I start working on the release. And the first thing I do is like update the change log. So I open the change log. I create a new line here for the next release, duplicate the previous line. And then I first check what the changes that I need to add. And this one was a bug fix, actually. So what I'll do is like I copy the title here. I'll type a new section fixed. I'll type the title of the pull request. And I need to copy paste the link here. Sure this gets filled in correctly. And since this is the only change that went into Cashier Stripe for this week, we can think about which pointer we need to increment for our release. Since we're using semantic versioning for all of our libraries, whenever you only have a set of bug fixes, you can increment the patch release for release. So in this case, like it will become 13.5.4. But if we would have new features to the library, then it would be a minor release. So you always have to be mindful in the way of how you release code to your users. And you need to make sure that you don't break anything for those users. So you have to be mindful about breaking changes. If there are breaking changes, then it's probably better that you send them into next major release and that you can increment this number. But for now, we only had to add a bug fix, so we can safely increment patch release here. Then we take a look at the date. No, it's October. I think it's like October 12th indeed. And we increment these things so we can actually see. I'll click on this later when I did the release, but this will allow us to like see the set of changes between these two specific releases. I increment the number here unreleased, so the next set of changes that need to be added in the next release are clearly there. I like to keep 2 spaces here just to have some breathing space between the releases. And that's it, I think, for this change log. So the next thing that I'll do is do a commit for this first. So I have one change, and what I do usually update, and normally, yeah, I have an autocomplete here, so that's that. I update the changelog, and remember, we need to increment the version as well for Cashier Stripe specifically. So we need to go back, and I know by mind where it is, where I need to do that, but that's of course not always very clear if you're not actually maintaining a library like this. So it's in the Cashier class here itself. And what this basically does for this specific library is that it sends the version number to Stripe itself. So when Stripe receives errors from this library specifically, it can like identify it. Okay, it's happening in this Cashier Stripe version and not in the different ones. Okay, let me see. So we incremented the number, and I need to commit this separately as well. So I'll do a commit here, version. That's that. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering which alias I'm using, this is just an alias for adding every change and committing with git commit -m just to write a message. It's a pretty cool shortcut that I use very, very often. Let me see. Now I need to make sure that I push those changes first. So I make sure that those changes are on the base branch, on the GitHub repositories before I make the release. And then when I need to like do the release itself, I'll going to make sure that I use the GitHub CLI command. And the GitHub CLI command is a very, very cool command line tool that I use very often, every single week for the releases, but also for other stuff like cloning repositories and whatnot. And it really helped me to do these releases because I can do a lot from the command line itself without going through a browser or doing anything manually in a different way. I can just do it from here. Okay, so the way I tackle this usually is I do git release create, and we add 13 dots. I need to see 5.4. And before I do that, I'm going to copy this part because we need to add it to the release notes. Enter this. I leave the title optional, and what GitHub will do is like it'll take the tag name as the title for the release. So now it's asking me to if I want to write my release notes, and I always say yes. I enter an editor on my command line, and I'm using Nano for this. It's fairly easy, fairly common. And I paste in those release notes that I did just now. I make sure that it gets written out to the changes that will be pushed to GitHub. Then I exit the editor with Control X, and it's asking me like, is this a pre-release? No, it isn't. It's an actual release. So I use the default, which is N, and then I can submit and publish the release. So now what GitHub has done is it has tagged the release. It has created a new release itself. And those are the releases you see here. And what you can do these days, you can also like give them an emoji, like a thumbs up or like whatever you want. So GitHub is like actively still like developing this specific feature, which is pretty cool. But those are the releases that you see every single week that are coming in. So if you go to Cashier Stripe right now, you'll see that I just pushed this out. Okay, that's it for Cashier Stripe, I think. Oh, there's one more thing left. What I also do to make sure that not only the current release cycle, what the current release cycle is up to date, but also the next release cycle. So for Cashier 14, the upcoming release, we aren't really planning on that right now. I'm just like mentioning it. We always work on the master branch for that. And what I usually do before I leave this repo is make sure that all of the changes of the current stable release get merged onto master as well. So those are available in the next release as well. We have two conflicts which you need to solve here. And one of them is the changelog. And VS Code, I really, really, really love VS Code for this, because in PHP Storm, it doesn't have this, and this makes my life so much easier. So I can use like one of these things here to resolve the merge conflict. What I usually do for change logs themselves, I say accept both incoming changes, because like the change log is now conflicting because I have changes in my change log on master as well, and like Git can't really know what I want to keep and what I want to throw away. So I click accept both incoming changes, and now it's actually almost exactly the same what I want to do. I only need to throw away this line here and increment the version number here. So the unreleased part has the same like overview of all the changes that are on master from the last release we did as a stable release. So that is resolved here. And then we have one more conflict here. And of course, like Cashier, if you're using a development build of Cashier 14, then we need to indicate that it's the 14.0.0 dev build. And I can just accept the current change here, and that will be resolved. Pretty smooth. Now I can, I'm going to use a very cool command called resolve. What I will do is, it helps me solve these merge conflicts. So what it basically does is like it adds all of the changes that I made to the merge conflict to resolve them, and I make sure that I commit them with a no edit. So I don't want to edit anything to the commit message, and those are now in a merge commit, ready for me to push out. I push them out, and master is up to date as well. I go back to 13.x, so my working state is back on the base branch in case I need to do some changes next time I'm here. And that's basically it. That's like the entire life cycle I do for a new release for one of our open source libraries. Of course, this took me quite a bit of time because I was explaining all of the time, but normally I can go through this quite a bit faster. It still takes time, especially if there's like a lot of changes that needs to be made. And then like it can definitely take quite a while before like all of our releases have been done for this day. Gonna check the chat real quick if there's more questions. Okay, so push is basically just git push. So it just saves me from typing git. I also have which force, which is kind of dangerous, I guess, but I actually use it quite a lot. So to be used on your own accord. Which one as well? GST, okay. GST is also just a shortcut for git status. So these are just like shortcuts saving me just a tiny amount of fraction of time typing these commands. And like if you sum them up, they're saving me quite a lot of time in the end. Can you publish some of your aliases? Well, I thought I've tweeted about this a lot already, but apparently I still need to tweet about it. So I have this fairly popular repo called .files, which a lot of people have. And I took quite a bit of time in the past to make sure that this is kept up to date very well, that is thought out very well. And it allows me to reinstall my Mac if I ever have a computer crash or whatever, or I need to update to a new macOS version. It just helps me to keep my Mac up to date and start with a fresh release. And there's this file in here, aliases.zsh, and it contains all of the aliases I have. I'll post them in the chat real quick, so you have them. And you can go here and check out what all of my aliases are if you're interested in that. Thanks for the question, by the way. All right, we have Stripe done now. Let's see what the next one is. So I think like we're now at a point where like know everything what there is to know about me doing releases each week. What I do at the end of the stream, I'll do the tweet that I do every week with the libraries and their releases. I can already like say I did 13.5.4 here. And I'll do the tweet that I do every single week. But the rest of the stream is going to consist of me doing the releases for every library. So I'm just going to do the work that I do every single week. You can follow along. I'll give some comments here and there now and then. But in a nutshell, you have like a basic understanding of what I do each week. And I already thank you so much for keeping up so far. But I'm now going to start with the rest of the releases, and I'm hoping this is going to be go a little bit faster because we spent quite a lot of time explaining the basics. I'm just going to go at it right now for the rest of the stream. So next one is Dusk. Let's see. That was yesterday, so we might have some releases here. Okay. Let's see here. Add a new assertion. There's quite a bit of stuff going on here. I think I can close this one because this was just me adding a build support. Yeah, this is just like tests. This is a new assertion. Okay, this is a new method. So this is something we need to include. These are just tests, aren't really interesting. These are I sometimes skip some pull requests that I don't add to the changelog because like this is like I could add this, but I don't think like this is these are pull requests are of course very helpful, not because of that, but like I don't think like the average user is gonna like need this in a changelog that fast. So the only real change that we have is this one with a new method from Emu. I can't pronounce it, from Jonathan. So thanks for that. Let's see what the next version release will be. We can go to our editor here. And do the same thing. We're already on the base branch. We're going to pull in changes we have. Or we have the latest changes. Go to the changelog. Create this. And that was a new thing that we added. So we're basically extending the public API here. Close this one already. So now we can increment the minor release because we are adding a new method. We're extending the public API on this library, and we need to make sure that we use the proper version for that. Let me see. This needs to be 19.0 as well. Okay, there's no release to do, so we don't need to do anything here. I'm gonna copy the things for the changelog as well. Make sure this is committed. 0. Oops. No. I'll need to see if I did that correctly. Okay, I didn't. That went wrong for a sec there. Okay. 0. Okay. Now Dusk is released as well. You should see that yourself if you go to the repo. 6.19.0. There we go. Let's see if Echo has anything to release. Nope, just some changes to the README. Echo is a special special library as well because it's published on npm and not on packages itself. Taylor is the only one who can publish to npm right now. So if a if a release needs to happen for Echo, I need to make sure that the changelog is updated already, that everything's set, just like I do for other libraries. But Taylor will be the one who makes the actual release and publishes it to npm. But we didn't have any changes there, so we can skip it. Next one will be Envoy. I think this will also be just build updates. Yeah, just a build update for PHP 8.1. For CLI, I think Nuno already released this. Yeah, he released yesterday. So let's see if there's anything new that could be released. No, only build support. So some libraries are more maintained by some of my colleagues, like Nuno is involved with Forge a lot, and he maintains the Forge CLI library that he wrote himself. So he does some releases in between now and then as well. Like I said, Tuesday is like the go-to date where we do the weekly releases, but we sometimes do releases in between as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. ForgeSK. I think this will be the same story, just some build stuff. Yeah, just build support. Let's do the next one, Fortify. I think nothing needs to be released here. I saw it was pretty old. Yeah, just a README change from 20 days ago. Framework, of course, like it's already been done. Taylor is taking care of that. Well, something I haven't mentioned yet. I'm not the one who's doing the change logs for the framework. We have someone else doing the change logs. Tatiana, she's doing the change logs for the framework. She's doing a very great job at that. Let's see if I can pull up a pull request by her. So she makes sure that the change log for the framework itself stays up to date, and every week she sends a pull request with all of the changes that gotten in, just like I do for the first party releases. She does a really great job. She does it whenever she's online, so it might not be immediately, but she's fairly quickly about that. So I think you can expect to see that sooner rather than later for this week's release. Okay, let's see what the next one is. The helpers one. This one isn't a package that we really maintain anymore. We keep this up to date because we pulled out the helpers from the core framework back in, what was it? 5.8, I think, 5.7, one of those releases. And then we had this backwards compatible library that you can pull in if you needed the helpers. But we don't really accept pull requests to it anymore, so I can safely skip it most weeks. Next one is Horizon. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Oh, Bobby, I'm your biggest fan as well. Much love. Scott is asking, out of curiosity, the minor release number, does that have maximum of... No, doesn't. You can go up to towards 1 million if you want. I expect that no library will ever reach that number, but there isn't really like a hard constraint on a minor release. One thing that also bothers me sometimes is that whenever a new major release comes out from a library, and Laravel had this problem especially because at some point we were going very fast with major releases. Every half year we did a new release, and people would like react like, "Oh no, another major release! Like the version number is increasing," but in my opinion, it's just a version number. It can't hurt you. I know that like a major release with breaking changes might not be ideal if it happens too fast and often, but in our defense, we try to minimize breaking changes through between major releases to very minimum. And I think we're doing a fairly good job at it. Opinions might differ, of course. So upgrading to those newer major releases like isn't, in my opinion, like that big of a deal that a lot of people think. And there's some great tools out there that can help you, like Rector, but also Laravel Shift, which has a very great reputation of making it super easy for you to upgrade to new Laravel releases. So definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Let's see if there's anything else. All right, let's continue. Next one is Horizon. And we did have some updates here, I see. Let's see, we have one here. What did I do here? I probably compile or something. Okay, version increase, that's not important. Here we have something. So we have 3 things. Yeah, like this is just like one closing element that's being added. I'm not going to add that. It's definitely a good change that's being made, but for the change log, it's not that important. Okay, so this is a change in behavior. So let's just get started on that. Let's just open Horizon. Oh, I forgot something. Forgot to merge into master here. Try, like sometimes I forget and sometimes I don't. The branch set. Oh, did I forget to push? I forgot to push the change log. That happens sometimes. Now the change log isn't in the release per se, but that stuff happens, and that's like not a major deal. Need to merge changes for Dusk here, of course. Oh wow, that's a lot of. Oh no, it's just 2, just the usual ones. Have a test conflict here. You know what? This is a little bit, quite a bit for now. So I'm just gonna abort this one and do it at a different time, so to not bother you in the stream and to make sure we finish the stream as well. I'll do this later. Horizon. We're on 5.x, which is the current stable release. Let's start a new one here in changelog. And this one is a UI change. So it's not part of the public API of the library. It's not really that it can hurt you, if I need to be frank. But it is a change in behavior, and I usually catalog these under changed. And changed for me is a change in behavior, but not a breaking change in behavior. So it's a minor, it's a very, well, not minor, it's a very tiny thing that changed, but isn't really that important enough to crank up a minor release. So everything that goes in here, for me, it means that I can just update the patch release for it. Next one is as well a change in behavior. So again, a UI change. Below here. Close this. Now I can update this to 14. Make sure the date is up to date. 14. Make sure, oops, sorry. Make sure I copy the release notes. Make sure I commit the release notes. Make sure I push the release notes. This was what I forgot with Dusk early on. And now, before I can push, remember that we have release to do. So for our Horizon, I need to compile the assets. And the way I do that is by running npm install and npm run production. So this basically makes sure that the dependencies are up to date, that our assets are compiled, and that all of the changes that anyone has done to our front end through the view files or whatever, or to the CSS files, that those are compiled and those are shipped to our users when they pull them in. I want to sidetrack here for very quickly because I think this will be interesting for you to know as well. So for Horizon and Telescope, there's some gotchas when updating. Because we ship the front-end assets directly to your source code, we publish them to your public directory. And because those files are published upon installation, whenever you update Horizon or Telescope, you need to make sure that those assets are kept up to date as well. Usually, there isn't really that much involved into breaking changes for the front end, but it could happen that some of the front end breaks when a minor release or patch release happens. And that is because we consider the public API for those packages for Horizon as Telescope not to consider of the UI of Horizon and Telescope itself. So you're still responsible for making sure that front-end assets are up to date. And the easiest way to do that is add this to your Laravel file, and it will make sure that whenever a post update command happens for Composer, that those assets are kept up to date, and that you always have the latest version of the UI of Horizon and Telescope itself. There has been something added very recently, which I'm going to show you as well. So there's this new thing in Laravel, which you might have seen or might not. Someone has pull requested this to the skeleton. And if you aren't keeping up to date with skeleton, this is something you might want to add if you're using Telescope and Horizon. So what it will do is it just look for a tag called Laravel assets, and Horizon. Let me see if I can pull it up. Publish command. So Horizon and Telescope do have that tag, and they will make sure that both Horizon and Telescope are updated whenever the vendor publish commands run with this tag. So it will publish all assets for Laravel first-party packages, and you only need to add one thing to your composer.json. But of course, you can do this as well, and it will work the same, except you need to add Telescope as well. I think Nova has the same thing. I'm not 100% sure, but 99% sure that Nova has the same command. All right, let's continue. Where did I leave off? All right, so the build for the assets has been run. I have my new assets which are compiled for production. I'm going to commit those. Just file commit. And make sure that those are pushed, because that is important that I push. If I forget that then the compiled assets won't be shipped. That has happened in the past, fortunately. I'm going to create release. I'm going to see which one it was. I'm going to copy this over one more time. 5714. Same thing I do every day. Now it's published. Should be published. Yeah, that looks good. So that release is done as well. Then I'm going to sure that those changes are merged in. I have a conflict here, which I can solve like this. Do resolve. Should. And horizon is done. I'm gonna add 5. Such a bad memory. 7.14. That was it. Did I forget anything? Did I do anything? No, that was it. Okay. So as you can see by now, like the process is almost always the same that I do. I've been like looking into ways of automating this a little bit. Probably if I can write some scripts myself, I can automate a few more things. I already tried to optimize a lot by using aliases for some commands that I run, but most of the things that I do right now is an automated process. Something that GitHub has recently released, and I'm going to like really quickly look for a library that has changes. I think Jetstream has some changes. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to show you without actually doing a release. So it added this auto generate release note thing. What's it saying? Select a fill attack. Ah, okay. Wait, what? Oh, okay. Let's see. I don't want to. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to do it, but because I don't actually want to do the release. But what this would actually do is like it would grab all of the changes that happened on the branch. I think just commits. Not really sure if it's pull requests as well. Bundle them up in a specific format in the Markdown, and then I can just click publish, and the release is done. The problem with this is that it's in a very specific format. So I think actually Nuno did it recently for Vaporcore. So he's using it here. Yeah, so this is the format that it's using. The problem I have personally with this is that it's not using the format that I'm using for all of the Laravel releases. And I really want to keep it the same, because it's a better experience, in my opinion, if everything is the same and consistent, and it's just easier for users to keep up with things. And at the same time, it's a bit of a thing about me that I like to keep things the same. But that's why I don't want to use that. I'm actually hoping that this can be customized in the future through GitHub itself, but we'll see. The format that I'm actually using for our change logs, which might be interesting as well. I'm going to post it in chat real quick. So it's keep a change log, and what it will do is give you a bit of like semantic versioning, a set of rules that you can follow to make a change log. And this is the one that I'm using for the Laravel releases for the past 3 years already. And it'll just give you like a very good way of writing those change logs. I think you have some, yeah, here's the example that you have. And you'll see this format being used through all of Laravel's change logs as well. Okay, let me see what's next. So I'm going to skip this. Next library, it's the installer. Okay, we don't have any changes here. Last change was August 17th. I'm going to quickly check the chat again if I missed anything. Do you have any VS Code snippets that you use very often? Not really. I don't really use snippets in VS Code yet. I've actually been using VS Code now for 2.5 months, I think. I switched over because GitHub is now using VS Code behind the scenes for their new code spaces. And I wanted to get familiar with VS Code so I can navigate my way around those code spaces very easily. Must say that I've been very much enjoying VS Code, even though it doesn't have like the full power of a PHP Storm IDE. It's very lightweight, it's very fast, and yeah, it does its job very well. I don't know like how long I will still be using it, but it's actually very nice editor to work in. But I haven't really like checked into all of its feature sets yet. So snippets is one of those things that I haven't really used yet. What about npm vulnerabilities? When will that be fixed? npm vulnerabilities? I'm not really sure what Bobby means with that. Hope you don't have vulnerabilities in Echo right now. If you do, Bobby, don't post them here. Send us an email or hit me up in Telegram. Why not use PHP for develop? Yeah, because I just wanted to try out something new, and I wanted to be ready for GitHub code spaces because they use VS Code in there. And yeah, I just wanted to try out something new. And I have to say, like, I've been really enjoying VS Code because it's very lightweight, everything's super fast, and that's very, very neat, actually. All right, I'm gonna continue with the releases. Next one is Jetstream, and I think we had one change for that, if I wasn't mistaken. Yeah, just one change. I think I skipped this one last week because I don't always like release everything every single week. I sometimes skip stuff. Sorry, my bad. But like sometimes I'm a little bit in a rush and I don't always have the full amount of time to do every single tiny change that has gone in that week, and I bundle those up later on in a different release if they're not too critical or aren't like super big or anything. So this was one that I skipped. But like since we're doing this really this live stream, let's just do this one as well. So I go to Jetstream. I'm gonna pull in those changes. Change log. Let's see. What was new feature? This is just like a behavioral change as well. So I'm gonna put that one underneath changed. So one tip I also want to give is that be mindful about the title for your pull requests. I'm not saying this is a bad title or like anything. I just this is good, definitely. But I try to like copy paste these one like one-on-one just to save me time, and it really helps if people like write their pull requests titles very well, because it makes it very easy for me to just copy those over to the change log. Just like gonna bump this one. I know on top of my head that Jetstream doesn't need any compile or version increments. Oh, that should be 3. I'm gonna push this. Out again. 3. Did that work? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay, that worked. So this one's out now as well. Ready for you to pull in. Oops. Next up, the skeleton. And skeleton is a special one as well. So this is basically the scaffold for a new Laravel application. And it's actually not that special. It's just a library like another one, just not like a real first-party library in the sense that you can pull in. This is just like the starter Git that you use to start off new Laravel applications with. Sometimes people trip over the versioning number. Because it's Laravel, you would expect that this is the Laravel core, actually what Laravel is, but it's not. It's actually the skeleton. The real core of the framework lives over at Laravel/framework. And the versioning numbers that you see here aren't one-on-one with the framework. We used to keep those one-on-one with the framework, but it was pretty annoying because you needed to do like a skeleton release every single time you did a framework release, and that was like unnecessary extra work because sometimes you just wouldn't have extra stuff going into the skeleton, and it just didn't make sense. We were skipping like a lot of numbers releases for the skeleton because we didn't have changes for them, and it just didn't make any sense. And after a while we stopped doing that. So the release cycle of the skeleton is different from the base framework. Just so you know, just a tiny gotcha in there. Let's see what we have here for the skeleton this week. Just one thing. Yeah, like I can already see. Yeah, it's just like one acolyte change for the skeleton. I'm not going to do that this week. It's just not worth putting in the time for that. I don't want to diminish like the effort that people have gone through to doing pull requests. Of course, we really appreciate those pull requests, but like it makes more sense that I do that change the next time someone sends in a different pull request, and I can bundle up a couple of those changes into one release. I'm not going to check Lumen because Lumen is at the moment very still. Like there isn't really going on a lot with Lumen at the moment. Use Laravel. So I'm going to skip that. I don't think there's any changes for Nexmo. No, just some basic stuff that's changed. The Octane, I think there has been changes for Octane. Yep, there have been changes for Octane. Okay, so there's a bug fix for Octane here, I think. Sometimes I need to like check if anyone else hasn't done a release yet, because if it was a hotfix, then sometimes one of my colleagues might do a release, but not do the release, and I just need to do the GitHub release itself, but not the tag itself. So I need to like make sure that I don't push any conflicting tag if that happens. But that hasn't happened here, so we can just move along to the Octane side of things. Let's see. That's something I really need to be mindful as well, like that I just don't accidentally type something in a critical clause or something that gets shipped. There's a lot of stuff to pay attention to when you do these releases, because like if you ship anything by accident, it's out there. I can pull tags from GitHub, from Git, but usually when people have already started pulling in those changes, it's not very wise to do. Okay, so this is like just batch release. This over. Sure, that's pushed. That's right. Yeah. Okay. And publish that, and that's it for Octane. It's 0. Close this. Back to VS Code. make sure that it gets merged to master. So the next major release has those changes as well. Solve. And that's it for Octane. Octane is released now as well. Right, we're getting there. Almost at the end. Last part is a bit tricky there. There's like quite a few libraries here that often get updates. So this was 20 days ago for Passport, so Passport probably didn't get any changes here. I think Sail got changes. Not sure. Oh, sorry. Yep, I actually sent in the pull request to Sail to add PHP 8.1 support. So after I release this, people, you can start using PHP 8.1 on Sail. There is something I want to say about this in between. We had to disable some extensions which aren't there yet, so you can't use Xdebug or Swool or Redis yet on Sail for PHP 8.1, but you will be able to use everything else, except for these extensions then. So I'm gonna release that. Sail, I don't think we needed to do anything special there. No. Pull in those changes. Oh, they're already here. There's no two spaces here. What? So this is changed or added? Added. It's a new feature. Usually, like you can see, like Sail is almost all the time with new features like this. Very rarely that we get like a bug fix for Sail, because it's mostly new stuff that gets added. Okay, I think that was it. Let's release it. Oh, forgot to create. That's it. It's available normally, and packages should be fairly fast. Okay, one more thing before I leave Sail to inform you about the new PHP 8.1 support. So one thing you'll need to do in your Docker Compose file for this to work is change the runtime to 8.1. You can leave this. This isn't relevant. It's just for building the application. But you'll need to update the runtime to 8.1. And if you're using Sail already for your project, you'll need to rebuild the container. And let me show you how you do that. It's this command. So Sail build no cache, and that'll like update your runtime first, and then run this command, and it will rebuild the container with PHP 8.1. And that should normally be enough for you to start using Sail on PHP 8.1. Okay, that's that. V1 dot, no, V1 dot, oh, that was it. Okay, let me check the chat real quick. Damn, that's a lot of work for you to do, man. Yeah, thanks about it. It seems a lot of work. We're already more than an hour into the stream, but I've been like talking quite a little bit. Like it usually goes faster than this, of course. But yeah, there's quite a bit of libraries. Sometimes when I come back from holidays, I need to do almost every single one. So that's quite a bit of work then, but it's not always that much work each week. Like something that I've been noticing over the years is that a lot of these libraries that we maintain are maturing a lot, so they don't get that much updates anymore. So the release cycle of each library normally gets less frequent with its age, and that's like causing me not to do like the releases as often as I used to. So it depends like on how much stuff that has gone into, how much people that have been contributing. But yeah, it's like not as bad as it seems. Would it help if you have a bash script that prepares a release? Asks Adrian. Well, that's something I've been thinking about, but to be very honest, maybe. I'm not really sure. Like I'm pretty fluent into what a release needs and does right now. I could put in a lot of work into a bash script, and but every single library has its different nuance as well. Like for example, Horizon needs a compile step. Echo is different. Like there's like tiny gotchas here and there. So it's not always I'd need to write a bash script per repo, and even though it wouldn't be like that big of a difference, it might not be worth the work. And I don't know if it would save me that much time in the end. Oh fuck! I think I saw Adrian saying something I really need to check. I think did I tag Sail incorrectly? If that's the case, then you're in for a treat. Yeah, I did. Okay, I need to fix this. So I tagged Sail wrongly, and I also see that. Just going to like. Okay. Okay, I'm going to fix this. Since I only tagged this right now, there might be some people who have pulled it in already because I'm doing the stream and people want to test out. I'm very sorry for all of you, but I'm going to like undo that right now. So you're in for a treat. I actually didn't meant to do this change, but you'll now see how I fix these kind of fuck ups. I'm very lucky that doesn't happen a lot, but yeah, sometimes that happens. Thanks, Adrian, for spotting that. I didn't see that. So what I usually do now is I need to delete a tag on GitHub, and it will also automatically be synced to Packagist, and it will pull the tag from Packagist as well. And then you normally can't pull in that tag anymore through Composer. I always forget the command for this, so I need to Google it. Git tag. So it's git push origin dash tag name. Okay, so git push origin v1.0.12. And it's gone. And then I need to tag, very important, I need to delete the tag locally as well. So now it's gone on GitHub, and it should be gone on Packagist in a few moments. And then we should be good. It should be gone. There is a thing about people who have already pulled it in. They might get like a real weird Git failure about it. But the way you can solve that is just doing a fresh Composer update, and that should fix things really. It should like fix things in your composer.log file. It shouldn't be too bad. Since Sail isn't really like a production tool, it's totally fine that we're doing this. Like we're not really breaking people's code, and it has only been like 5 minutes or something that I did the release. So this is fine really with the doc. in the fire building. No, it's fine. So I need to delete the tag here as well, locally. That's that. And now I can't accidentally repush the tag to GitHub anymore. Then the last thing I need to do to make sure that everything's fine is delete the release itself. So what GitHub will do if you delete a tag on GitHub through the CLI on GitHub itself, delete a GitHub tag that is, it will put the release you had in draft mode. So it will notice that the tag is no longer present on the repository, and it will convert the release itself to a draft release. And I'm just going to delete this one, discard, because I'm just going to do the process again entirely. I noticed there's like one release missing here, and I'm going to fix that first real quick. So it's this change. Going to oh, this is might be a time where I can show you the auto-generated release notes. Yeah, so this is what GitHub will do with the new generated release note. So as you can see, it has just generated the full changelog link, but there weren't any pull requests in this release. So that means that GitHub can only put pull requests in the auto-generated release notes. But since like I have the release notes right here, I'm just gonna do this, publish it, and now it's populated. So one thing that bugs me a little bit with GitHub releases is that whenever I publish a GitHub release, immediately it will say release this right now. But technically that isn't correct because the tag has been added quite a bit earlier already. So if I go to the tag itself, it says 11 days ago. So that's something you need to keep in mind. Like a GitHub release, the date that says here isn't the same as when the actually tag has happened. This is just telling you when the GitHub release has happened. So that's a gotcha that you need to keep in mind. Okay, let's do the Sail release again. I hope I don't make the same mistake twice. To pull in the changes real quick, I think I made. Oh no, I didn't make any changes. Okay. Is it correct, Adrian? I hope so. Okay, that should be good. And I don't need to like merge anything into master right now. All of the code has been merged already. So that's it. Now it's correct. Now it has the correct minor version. And you can start pulling that in and experimenting with PHP 8.1 in Sail. All right, next one, Sanctum. All right, we have one change here. Seems like a bug fix. Pull that in. Right. Sure, that's pushed. And I don't think we had... No, no special things we need to do for Sanctum. Let me see. It was 2.11.3. And that's it. Sanctum is released now as well with the bug fix from Stefan. Thanks, Stefan, for that. Make sure that monster is up to date. And make sure that my branch is back. Base branch. And we can continue to scout. Seems that there have been some changes here, so I'm going to quickly see if no release has been made, and that isn't the case. Just one bug fix, it seems. Yeah, this was a pretty long one with a issue for melee a bug fix for melee search. So let's get that out there as well. Bump this. 3.0. And Scout is a special one. I need to make sure that the engine manager is updated here. So this is the version that gets sent to Algolia, for which version that Scout is running on right now, also for debugging purposes, just like Cashier Stripe, which we saw earlier. So I'm gonna do a version commit here and make sure that that's pushed. Sure that master is up to date. Accept the current change. Accept both. Solve. Get back at my base branch, and that's it for Scout. All right, let me check the comments real quick. You're very welcome, Diego. Thanks. You did it on purpose. I didn't, Adrian. I swear I didn't. This was by accident. Local tag. I'm not really sure what a local tag is. Sorry. You probably mean the thing I removed earlier. Yeah, I already deleted it. So you need to make sure you delete the local tag as well, so you don't accidentally push it again. Yeah. All right, let's continue. So I'm fairly sure that Slack notification channel, yeah, it isn't really updated that much. Serializable closure. This is a new library actually by Nuno Maduro. He has done a really great job at porting this library. We needed to have the behavior of Opus closure, but the old behavior. So the way the new behavior works for Opus closure is using I forgot the name. I think it was FFI. in PHP to have like compiled extensions. Something I'm not going to go into it that deeply, but it basically boiled down that we needed to have the old behavior in Laravel of the way that they serialized the closures. So we forked the library and we created our own to let us maintain it ourselves, because we don't want to burden the maintainers of that older library with the work if they don't want to put in the work with that. That's of course reasonable if they don't want to do that, but we needed to make sure that everything stayed to work the way it was working before, so our users didn't have breaking changes. And Nuno did a very great job at cleaning up this library, releasing a new one, and he's been maintaining it since. I think, yeah, last release he did was v1.0.3, so there's nothing for us to release here. Socialite, don't think anything has happened there. Oh, there has been anything, something happened there. That exciting. Let's see. Don't use stringlen to check. This is a PHP 8.1 fix. I think I might skip releasing this because I'm going to add PHP 8.1 support as built later on, so I might not release this if it's not needed. Lucas, he's someone who contributes to Laravel very often with these cleanup PRs, and I very much appreciate them because they really help us have some maintainable code and like just brings us up to date with the new syntax from third-party libraries and whatnot. So thank you, Lucas, for sending in these. This is just like the changes to test, so nothing user-specific going on here. This is a change, but I think it's not a behavioral change. I like these are like quite a bit of changes to the internals, but I think nothing really has changed, if you get what I mean. Like everything still works exactly the same from what I can tell here. So what I'm going to do is like I'm just going to skip this as well because it doesn't really have anything end user specific. It's only internally that things got changed. Now, this is like, okay, this is a change that is an optimization, but it's such a micro one that I'm just going to skip this and keep this for next release. Like it isn't really worth putting out a new release for this. It's still a very useful addition, that's for sure, but it's just not like worth doing a separate release for. So I'll just ship all of this whenever like something else happens for Socialite. That's for Socialite. Telescope. We don't have any changes here. Last time was 7 days ago, so we can skip Socialite. And I think we're nearing the end. Okay, Tinker maybe, something. No, just some builds as well. UI is also something that isn't really, it's still maintained, but not really like receiving anything right now. It's we very much recommend to use Breeze or Jetstream because those are much more modern and much more up to date. I really like, if you have Laravel UI running, you might really consider just replacing it with Breeze or Jetstream. But just to be frank, like Jetstream and Breeze are more for new applications, so that's the reason actually why we're still maintaining Laravel UI, just to keep that backwards compatibility, but don't expect anything new happening there anymore. Paper UI, I don't think anything has happened here. Nope, it's been July 6th. So that's it, people. We're done. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 releases. And together with the framework, that's 8 releases this week. That was quite a bit. Was more than I thought. And the stream's already 1.5 hours. Congrats to everyone who made it to the end and sticking with me. Maybe you get a little bit why I said like this might be bit of a boring ideal. I still hope it's been useful to everyone. Just to wrap up, I'm going to write that tweet. For what I usually do. Oh, wait. Let me use this. Release day. What was it? I think it was 64. Yeah, 64. Laravel 64. Next we have Cashier Stripe. So we have Dusk, Horizon, Jetstream, Octane, then Sail, and Scout, and that's it. And I always end these with a sparkles. We want sparkles. Bags with will not be peach. Me and Laravel. That's it. That should be out there right now. So that's it for this stream. We made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for joining, for looking into this. I hope it was useful for all of you. Definitely, if you have any questions left, hit me up on Twitter, and I'll try to reply to that. And thanks for joining, everyone. Hope that was useful for you. Have a great day. Have a great week, and see you later. Bye-bye.